This is a reading of a collection of lectures by Rudolf Steiner entitled Ancient Myths and the New Isis Mystery. Lecture 1 was given on the 4th of January 1918. In the course of my recent public lectures in Switzerland, I have repeatedly said that the knowledge, the way of thinking currently prevailing, and indeed deeply rooted in the human soul, is ill-suited to deal with social and moral life. Present conditions can be restored to a healthy state only if people are able to find their way back to a thinking, a grasp of the universe that will give what lives in the soul a direct link with reality. I said that what prevails in the historical, social, and ethical life is, as it were, dreamt, slept through by humankind. That in any case, abstract ideas are ill-suited to firmly grasping the impulses which must be at work in social life. I stated that in earlier times, humans had recourse to myths rooted in older, or, as we often say, atavistic experiences. They expressed in mythical form their thoughts concerning the world. Whatever of the world's secrets entered their field of vision. Myths, the contents of mythology, can be viewed in the most manifold ways. And in fact, I described earlier a positively magnificent materialistic explanation of the myth by Dupuis. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. It's capital D-U-P-U-I-S. Over the years, I have repeatedly examined one or another myth. However, myths are accessible from many points of view. And when something has been said about one of them, its content is far from being exhaustive. Again and again, from different standpoints, different things may be asserted in regard to a myth. It would be very useful for our contemporaries to become acquainted with the nature of the mode of thought that underlies mythological representations. For the ideas which people have come to accept about the origin of myths and the creation of mythology belong ultimately to the realm of the modern superficial judgment which is so widespread. Embedded in the myths are deep truths that are more connected with reality than those truths expressed through the medium of modern natural science about this or that thing. Physiological, biological truths about humanity can be found in the myths, and the origin of what they express rests upon the consciousness of the connection between the human being as microcosm and the macrocosm. In particular, and this will be my subject today and tomorrow, when we look clearly at the nature of the thinking employed in the myths, we can grasp how deeply, or actually how shallowly, ordinary modern concepts are concerned with reality. It is useful, therefore, to recollect sometimes how myths were formed among neighboring peoples of the pre-Christian ages. The ancient Egyptians, the Greeks, and the Israelites were neighbors and very much interconnected culturally. Moreover, one can say that a great part of the thinking that still rules in the soul today is connected with the knowledge of the Egyptians, Greeks, and Israelites as expressed in the form of their myths. The first myth I would like to discuss, but from a very specific standpoint, is the Osiris-Isis myth in Egyptian culture. I have already called your attention to Dupuis' contention that the Osiris-Isis myth is nothing more than a clerical lie, that the priests themselves had nothing more in mind than astronomical, astrological events, but had fabricated such a myth for the common people. It is very interesting to note that the Greeks not only have a number of gods connected with their own life, but have whole generations of gods, the oldest generation being linked with Gaia and Uranus, the next generation with Kronos and Rhea, the Titans and all that is related to them, and the third generation with the successors of the Titans, Zeus and the whole Zeus circle. We shall see that the construction of such god myths springs from a special type of soul. The Greeks, Israelites, and Egyptians had different conceptions of their connection with the universe. Nevertheless, there was a deep relationship from a number of standpoints, including what I shall take as a basis today, In the age when the Osiris-Isis myth arose, as the representative of more profound truths, the Egyptians developed a knowledge which came from the longing to know the deeper foundations of the human soul. They desired in this way to turn their gaze to that element in the human soul, which not only lives between birth and death, but which passes through birth and death and remains alive between death and a new birth. Even external perceptions show how the Egyptians, in their preservation of mummies, in their peculiar cult of the dead, turned the eye of the soul to the element in the soul that passes through the gate of death and in a new form experiences new destinies when the human being treads the paths on the other side of death. What is it in the human being that passes through the gate of death and enters through birth into earthly existence?